Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my little sunshine boy. And this is day 59 of your daddy in Dubai. And the sun is shining. And today is Wednesday, right? For those of you that are not my son and you're wondering, what do you mean Wednesday? So I changed the days. If you watched yesterday's one, instead of Tuesday, I called it Tuesday. And as a result, I get to choose what kind of day I have. And my goodness me, was Tuesday amazing. It was spectacular. It was splendid. It was magnificent. It was off the chain insane all the way till I went to sleep. Today is Wednesday, right? Day 59 of Daddy in Dubai. Wowzers. Well, look, the first win of the day is I woke up. And because I woke up, I can live my purpose again today, right? And look, if you don't know what your purpose is, um, do whatever you can to try and find out, right? If you do want to find out your purpose, message me, like, subscribe, make a comment, ask me a question. Um, I can help you find your purpose, right? I was lucky that I found my purpose out when I was 19 years old. And the process that led to that discovery was me being open. And because of my openness, I got I got led to a gentleman by the name of Stuart from Australia. And there were a series of events that happened over 6 days up and down the country in the UK. And they as these events happened, I questioned what is going on here. And after a series of six events, 6 consecutive days, I won't go into them today. That's another episode, right? But what I found, because I was open and I just asked the question in the salon, this Australian gentleman by the name of Stuart, he said, Dizzy, I can explain what's going on. So he invited me to his house to discover more. And that was where I found my purpose in life. And you know what I said when I did find out my purpose? And I'll come to that in a second. I said, can I still be a hairdresser? Because I was 19, um, fresh in the game, excited, really loving my job, career path, should I say. Um, and I said, can I still be a hairdresser? And the people who told me my purpose, you could call them your spirit guides, you could call it God, you could call it an inner voice, whatever you want to call it. But what happened was they said, yes, you can carry on being a hairdresser. Because that was my main priority, right? Hairdressing, I loved it. I won't go into why I loved it, but I loved it, right? It felt like that was my path. And I embraced it. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I thrived in it. And yeah, some of the best days of my life were 19 was a brilliant, brilliant year. Um, Anyway, so look, finding out your purpose is really good, right? Because waking up, knowing your purpose in life, and I'll tell you my purpose now, right? Which I found out when I was 19. And my purpose is to help people discover their true potential in life, okay? And at 19, I didn't know that there was a career or an industry called personal development with people like Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, DeMartini, Les Brown, Dennis Waitley, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy. I didn't know Kalpesh Patel. I didn't know that was an industry, right? I didn't know that that was an option until I was got to 26. And I went to Mr. Chris Yanni Dredsky, the legend himself. Um, he said to me when I worked in his barbershop, because you need to go and see Tony Robbins, right? And I thought, who is this guy, man? He keep telling me to go there every year. And one year I did go, and I was blown away. I did not realize you can get paid to talk. Nobody told me at school you can talk for a living. As you can tell, I like talking, right? And I think secretly that was what I loved about hairdressing is I got the opportunity to talk to so many people every single day. And someone once said to me, "Look, Dizzy, you got to decide what kind of hairdresser you want to be. Do you want to be the one that cuts the hair, or do you want to be the one that makes the money?" And it was Jason Manners. Jason, you absolute legend. This was the question he asked me, and I said, "I want to be the guy that cuts the hair." And he went, "Good answer. I'll teach you." And it was almost like a Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi moment, right? And look, Jason did teach me some principles which I questioned, thinking, "Why are you teaching me this for, man? I want to learn how to cut hair." And it all fell into place. And those principles, I then carried them on. And when I taught somebody, these are the things that I taught people. Um, so going back to my purpose, right, it was to help people discover their potential in life. And when I went to Tony Robbins' seminar, I realized that you can get paid to talk, right? And as a hairdresser, I would talk, I would cut, blow dry, talk, cut, blow dry, highlights, cut, blow, high dry, highlights, blow dry, color, talk. And talking was the consistent thing with every client, even though the service changed, there's still talking to the client was really important. And look, one of the things that I think really allowed me to be who I am today is understanding that if you can, and this is what I understood, if the main purpose in hairdressing is to make sure the client comes back, that's number one priority. If they don't come back, you failed. Okay. So, how do you make sure somebody comes back? Well, number one, you have to make sure they feel comfortable enough to talk to you if you haven't done something right. If you don't feel, I mean, I don't know if you've ever, if you've ever been to the salon or the barber shop and the barber hasn't done what you wanted to do and absolutely butchered your hair, giving you the opposite of what you asked for. If you don't feel comfortable with that person, you're not going to go back. Whereas if your client feels comfortable with you, they will say, Dizzy, listen, last time you went a bit too short, man. Can we not, can you talk less and focus more on my hair? And that's happened before, right? And if you create that rapport, which I know now, if you create that environment where they're happy to talk to you and that they're not afraid of telling you what you've done wrong or what you can adjust next time. And that's really, really, really important, not just in cutting hair, but I think in life, right? Um, Communication and feedback is so, so important. And I don't know if you watched the interview with Andrea the other day, the cool accountant, and she and her family all get on so well. Mum, they've got a massive, massive family, and they all get on. And one of the reasons they all get on is because they're happy to talk, right? And look, communication is key. If you can talk to anybody about anything, you're free. So look, if you do want to get in touch with your purpose, you're like, Dizzy, I don't know what my purpose is. Look, there's two questions I can ask you. I'm not going to go through that now because today is Daddy in Dubai, day 59, Wednesday. And like I said, the first win of today was number one, waking up. Two, having the opportunity to live out my purpose on planet Earth again. Thirdly, um, you know what? Tomorrow's day 60, and I've been living in this place called the Hyatt. And look at this view, right? What a beautiful view. That is going to change as I'm moving out of this place. And yesterday I went to see the the future office, the future home. Wow. The most, the most beautiful part where I'm going to next, Jaden, is somewhere you've been, me, you and your mum stayed there 4 years ago. So arriving there when I went to view it was the most amazing feeling to know that when the estate agent, the real estate guy, was taking me from the car park to the venue, to the location, I showed him how to get there. Imagine that. He's taking me to view an apartment, and I took him there. Come on. When else does that happen in life? It happens in my life, right? And so yesterday I went and had a look. I wanted to make sure that this I could see the sunrise because that's my new hobby. Watching the sun come up in the morning has got to be the greatest thing you could ever do, right? It beats any Netflix, any TV program. It's actually quite funny. The place that I live, can you see there? So there's a TV from my bed and there's a TV around the corner. They have never been on in the whole time I've been here, and I won't switch it on. And I'm going to use a line that my good friend and mentor, Dr. John D. Martini says, I don't watch TV unless I'm on it. And look, I am creating something for TV, whether it goes on Netflix, whether it goes on Amazon Prime, wherever it goes, but I'm making something, right? And I think once I've moved into the new place, I will start constructing the vision of this magical series. And it is magical, right? There's magic involved. I've always loved magic, and I always said many years ago that that will become my final career, right? I've been a hairdresser, been a speaker, done various things, and now I'm doing YouTube stuff and uh, private equity and IPO investments and all of these things. And I'll probably end up selling property and real estate because I'm working with a guy. And that's another unique story to come, right? Um, and because it's so epic, what I want to share with you, Jaden, is life can be whatever you want it to be. But the only thing that's required is you have to be able to see it, right? My good friend Johnny Wimbrey, who will be coming on this series soon, right? He's already said, Dizzy, I'd love to be on. And that's is you can't be what you can't see. You must see it in order for you to be it. How do you know you've arrived if you don't know what it looks like, right? And look, this morning I woke up and I listened to Uncle Jim Rohn, man. Wow. I'll send you that video, Jaden, right? Um, Uncle Jim, wow. He's a legend, man. You know what? I feel so grateful that I remember I was out with your mum's way before you were born, and your mum surprised me on my birthday, and she took me to a jazz place called Matt and Fred's in Manchester, down Tib Street. And we went out for my birthday, and I got the news that Jim Rowan had passed, and my heart felt a little bit heavy, man. I was like, oh man, Jim. But I tell you what Jim did. Jim recorded so much of his digital self is online. So many people can listen to him now. He'll live forever. And just to put into context, Jim Rohn is one of the guys that inspired Tony Robbins, right? Um, so Uncle Jim, if you get a chance to listen to anything by this guy, Jim Rohn, spelled Jim, Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn. What an absolute, just delivers the information in a way that is so easy. Uncle Jim. Yeah, I'm so blessed. I woke up listening to him this morning, and it's Wednesday, right? So that was a massive, massive win. Sunshine, it's really, really important um, to be careful what you listen to and ingest first thing when you wake up in the morning. What is it a lot of successful people have said, your first hour when you wake up is so, so important. And it kind of sets you up for the day, right? And it's really, really important. I never realized the importance of until I came out here. And look, I've been waking up, watching the sun come up, and then reflecting on the day before, like yesterday was ridiculous. Realistically, Jaden, it was honestly the events. So my good friend Yugesh from 20 years ago in Cape Town, he messaged me with a couple of deals, right? And then he asked me, he goes, Did you bring your clippers? Because I want a haircut. And I said, Well, if you want a haircut, you've got to come within you've got to come by Thursday. I said, because I've got access to a full salon and barber shop here in this building, because they're my friends. And he goes, Well, don't worry, my friend's got a barber shop. And I was like, What? And he goes, Yeah, he wants to sell it. He's struggling. He wants to get rid of it. So today, and yesterday I spoke to his friend, who's not a barber, but he bought a barber shop because he just loves barbering and he needs some help. Come on now. So today I'm going to go and look at his barber shop to figure out what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, and how I can help. Somebody who's been in the game for 35 years. I think you'll agree, Sunshine, I can do a good haircut, right? And look, it's something that I'm passionate about. And in fact, this morning an idea was born, um, and I'm sure it will develop into another series. Like this is somebody called this the Daddy series, right? To me, it's the Sunshine series. It's me sharing with being my digital daddy with my son. And if anybody else wants to benefit, they can. And look, I will tell you right now, if you look at the comments, people are already benefiting from this. I remember I interviewed my good friend Gotham, and he's the author of Breaking Bread. My conversation with him was just phenomenal. And I remember the day after I loaded his interview, a good mate of mine rang me and he said, "You know what, Dizzy, that interview was amazing. I grew up without my dad. My dad used to beat up my mum, so we kicked him out, and I've never had my dad since." He said, "But that interview you did was just so beautiful, man. I'm really grateful that you did it, and don't stop." And look, I'm not doing this channel for money, right? It's not something I want to do for monetary gain. The reason I'm doing it is to be here for you long after I've gone. Like Uncle Jim, I want to win. And the win that I'm not praying for, I'm doing it, right? There's nothing anybody can do to stop your daddy, your digital daddy, to be here for you long after I've gone, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, son. Your daddy will talk to you for the rest of your life. That to me is priceless. And I've said it before, right? It's the best part of my 24 hours. Um, and there's another layer added to that now because not only am I sharing with you what I've got up to in the last 24 hours and what I've learned, I get to acknowledge people that have made an impact on my life. And as you grow up, there'll be lots of people that impact your life. Some for a season, some for a reason, some for a lifetime, right? There's always a benefit to everything that happens. Johnny Winbury says, there's never a mess without a message. And you'll hear from Johnny soon, man. He said he's gonna be around this week. So that's what I wanted to share today on day 59 of Daddy in Dubai, especially on a Wednesday. Celebrate your wins, right? Look, you got me this, right? It's in my hand. It's been getting charged by the sun. And it's beautiful, right? It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful thing. Look, it's got so many different, I don't know if you can see it there, look. It's got so many different little contours. And look, it's going to be beautiful for you and your mum to come here to Dubai. And there's a couple of shops that I really want to take you to. And I'll give you a budget because you need to have a budget, right? Daddy, can I buy this? Yeah. So look, I'm really grateful that this gentleman Yugesh that I met when I was in Dubai, sorry, in South Africa 20 years ago. Imagine that. So he has connected me to somebody, and this is somebody I met 20 years ago, right? I remember when I met Yugesh, um, he he was, I think he was 17 or 18. And he was reading a book. I'm not sure if it was my speed reading class that he came to, but he's reading a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. And I said, mate, you're reading this at the age of 17. Where are you going to be 20 years from now? And you know what? He's in a he's in a place where most people are not. It's not a surprise that he's a CEO, multiple companies, living the dream. So connecting with him out here in Dubai was just great. And then he connected me to somebody he went to school with, right? Craig, his name is. And look, Craig and I had a 2 hour conversation, which should have been half an hour. But there was speaking to him took me back 20 years, right? So this whole journey here in Dubai has taken me back 20 years. And 20 years ago, I was doing some epic stuff, son, right? 20 years ago, I wrote my book. 20 years ago, I did a series called Find Your Genius. 20 years ago, I created a radio show called The Jumpstart. 20 years ago, I presented the 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 series Find Your Genius as a TV show to TV Africa, and the lady sent me a contract, two contracts for a 13 episode series and a 26 episode series for 2 seasons at a point where I knew nothing about making TV. Look, it was shortly after, towards the end of that year, that Dada, your granddad, said, listen, you need to come home, man. Your brother's getting engaged. Rishi Gakko's getting engaged to Atisha Gakki, right? And I was like, Dad, it's not a good time for me to come home, man. He goes, what do you mean? I said, look, I'm about to finish my book and launch it on my birthday. I've got a TV show. Um, I've got a sponsor, I've got the perfect sponsor for it. I'm just choosing a location. And I often described it to people as and you won't know this, but it will be a little bit between Jonathan Ross and Graham Norton combined, right? Um, for the fact that Graham Norton wears wild suits, and your daddy wears some wild clothes. Jonathan Ross has a humor, and his show has a band play at the beginning and a band play at the end. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to design a show where I feature some music at the beginning, have a band or whatever, live artists perform something, and then I'll do the interview, and then we'll finish off with the band. And that was the idea, and we were looking for a location and all of this kind of stuff. And then he said, "Look, your brother's getting engaged. You have to come back home." And I remember my 33rd birthday, I was on an aeroplane, and on December the 6th, 2008, Rishi Kaka and Natisha Kaki got engaged. That's when I came back. And at that engagement, I got inspired to let me go and find a wife. Maybe this is a good idea. And that's how I met your mum, through a website. And the first time we met, I wasn't that impressed. The second time we met, I wasn't sure if it was her. She wasn't sure if it was me. But she looked better in real life the second time she did than she did in the first time. And obviously, we got married, and then she found out, and I found out that the first time it was me, the second time it was me. And she said, "Oh, you were such a horrible person the first time round." But look, we're all horrible and nice, nice and mean, kind of cruel. Nobody can escape any trait, right? Everyone is everything. But understand one thing. If you if you understand the magnificence of this universe, if you understand that everything, everything that happens is love, right? This series would not exist if I was able to speak to you every day, right? That night at the restaurant, when I was told it's not possible to speak to you and your mum every single day, I lost the plot. I put my hands up. My middle name is possibility. Look, without something being possible, nothing will ever happen. Possibility is the beginning of something, right? Right now, I'm here in Dubai, and this is the land of possibility. Do you understand? This used to, 50 years ago, it used to be a desert. All of that out there was just desert. And most people said it's not possible, right? But Dubai is the land where the impossible is possible. And it made complete and utter sense for me as your daddy to be here in Dubai. And look, the plan is for me to get things ready and do everything that needs to be done in order to give you and your mum the freedom to come here as well. Look, the ideal scenario is wherever you want to live, however you want to live, I'll make that possible, right? However your mum wants to live, however you want to live. I mean, look, I am going to be creating a series, filming a series about magic, about art, and all of that. And that's going to be created in the next 14 days. I'm going to create the vision for this, right? And look, once production happens, listen, it will probably be your summer holidays when we're producing and filming this. And I want you here, right? I'll make sure that you are here within the production of this series that's going to be on TV. Yeah, I'll make sure. Because if that's the path you want to go down, to be featured, there'll be roles for you. Last night I met this beautiful guy. He's actually the real estate guy. His name is Akeem. And after we'd seen the next location where I'm going to live, as we were driving back, just upon question, it turns out he's studied to be a broadcaster. He is a public speaker and a TV broadcaster and all of that good stuff. He's done it before, but now he's here in Dubai It's funny. He's got children that they live in Africa, in Tanzania. And one of the things that he said to me was, I said, "What? Where are your kids?" And he went, "Oh, they're back home in Africa." And I said, "What? You've come here to?" He goes, "Yeah, I've come here to work and make money because I can make more money here in Dubai than he can in Africa." But he said, "I don't want my children to grow up in Dubai like Arabs. I want them to have a traditional African background." And look, life is about choices. And I said, "Well, I respect your choice, Akeem." And he goes, "Look, I speak to them every day, at some point whenever we speak, and I still connected to them." And I didn't realize he's a TV producer, a news journalist, broadcaster. He's done that loads of times. So once I move into my new place, he's gonna interview me, right? We're gonna do a session. It'll probably be day 61, 62, 63 of Daddy in Dubai. And this title is going to be Who is Your Daddy, right? Who is your daddy? He was born Darren Taylor. And look, maybe I'll be launching myself or introducing myself as Darren because the currency here in Dubai is dirham. So the name Darren and dirham is very similar. If I introduce myself as Darren, this is unique. I think this is a time for Darren to come out. Darren Taylor is my real name. Is the name I was born. Just like your name is Jay Dunn. Your name was constructed carefully and came to me in a meditation. Your mum and I decided, right, that if it's a boy, I'll name him, and if it's a girl, you can name him, and you can name her. So your mum came up with her name, and I came up with your name. And how I came up with that was I did a meditation, did deep breathing, and the name Jaden came to me, right? And then listen to this for the irony. When you were born, we went to the hospital. It was a Sunday, and you were technical terminology, you were breech, which means you were the wrong way round in mummy's stomach for you to come out, which was dangerous, okay? And we were sat there, and I remember as we were driving to the hospital, I said to your mom, I said, "Do you want to have something to eat? We can have a Mackey's before we go." And maybe that's why you love McDonald's so much, eh? Mr. Fillet O Fish. Um, so we had our Mackeys and we went to the hospital and we sat there and we waited, right? And it got to like 1 in the morning. And I just felt the need to go and speak to the nurse, right? And say, "Excuse me, how long is this going to take?" I'm not sure if you're aware, but the baby's breech. Therefore, um, we got told to come in. Anyway, she went back and she goes, "Okay, Mr. Taylor, okay, let's get her in the surgery. Let's get her in the operating theater." And at 1 a.m. the next day, you came out and I held you. It was like the maddest feeling. I remember leaving that hospital, and I knew as I walked out, I thought, "Wow, something's changed." Because I saw you, man, when you came out. I saw your face thinking, "Geez, I'm a daddy. I have my own little sunshine." And listen, I'm so proud to be your dad. And I'm so proud of who you've become in the last 10 years. I want you to know that, right? But look, we don't know what's going to happen. And if I never see you again, I want you to know that I'm super, super proud of you. I'm super proud of all the stuff. I looked at your report the other day that your mum sent me. All the stuff you know about the difference between the landscape and the economy of Mexico and London, Mexico and UK, or Mexico and London, yeah. All the information you know about the planets and what the planets are made of. Wow. I was like, wow, you learning all this stuff? And I remember a few years ago, they were teaching you about the amygdala, all the stuff that happens in the brain, the different parts of your brain, the flight and fright or flight type, fight or flight part of your brain. You knew about that already. And the fact that we watched Rick and Morty and you understood it. Most adults that I know don't get Rick and Morty, but you, my son, I'm so glad we sat and watched Rick and Morty before I left. And you chose to sit down and watch and spend that time with your daddy rather than go to drama. I'm so glad I took you out of school that day and we drove all the way to Leicester and we saw Hanisha Kaki, Pap Pap Kaka, and Sean. And you met the dog Junior, right? I'm so grateful that we went on that car journey there and back. I wouldn't change it for the world. So thank you, son. So the today being Wednesday, I think I'm going to go and look at the barber shop this afternoon. Um, and I have a good feeling about that. And then I think also I've also got a great there's another gentleman by the name of Jamie Stewart who created the Circle Network. You'll hear from him too, right? It's inevitable that I'm going to interview him because the one meeting that I went to of his has had such a significant impact. Gotham, Andrea, two individuals that will be in my life forever. Those guys I met at this one event. So imagine one event, what the ripple effect of that. And look, maybe I'll do another episode about the ripple effect of uh, the ripple effect of people that you meet. I mean, the place that I'm going to be living next, that's come out of Manmeet Massey and Bobby Massa met a real estate guy in 2022, and they put me in touch with him as a possible prospect for something else I was doing. I went to meet him, and he's saved in my phone book as Adam the Gatekeeper. And what happened was, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I sent him a, a link to my John D. Martini interview, who again is another legend. Thank you, John, from the bottom of my heart for playing your part. He's a legend. And so I sent that interview to him. And as a result, he sent me back a message saying, interesting, why don't you come to the office for a coffee? Which was actually last Friday, right? Last Friday, I went for brunch with Andrea. And after brunch with Andrea, I went to meet Adam at his office for coffee. And when I turned up, he said, what would you like? How would you like your coffee? He showed me around the whole office, the meeting rooms, where the kitchen was, and all of that. And I thought, yeah, nice, very nice. And then when I sat down, he goes, look, what we're going to offer you is 50-50 commission. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I only came for a coffee, man. What are you offering me? And he said, look, I'm offering you a job, yeah. And I said, well, listen, I don't want to sell property, mate. It's not my bag. I'm here, I've got a mission. Jeremy Harbour, the legend himself, made me a deal. He said, listen, Dizzy, I buy and sell companies. I've just bought this company. If you can get some pre-IPO sales, I'll fly you out to Dubai and I'll set you up and you can work for me. And here we are. I did what he asked me he asked me to do something. I did it. I delivered. And as a result, I'm here now, right? And I said to Adam, the gatekeeper, of timeless properties. I said to him, I said, listen, this is my focus, man. This is what I'm here to do. And he says, well, listen, the real estate market's a little bit quiet right now. People are not sure what to do. We can quite happily show your investments to our clients. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I said, but look, my number one priority now, as well as that, is to find somewhere to live. And he goes, well, I've got the perfect place for you, Dizzy. And imagine that the place that he showed me, Akeem took me to, um, I showed Akeem where it was. When he was showing me, I took him there to the place he was taking me. I took him there. And look at this full circle, right? So Akeem works for Adam. Adam was referred to me 4 years ago by Manmeet and Bobby. And the reason he contacted me is because he watched my interview with John D. Martini. John's been my friend for 20 years. I recommended John to everyone I know. Now Manmeet works directly with John, and that's her life's work. So John and Manmeet are connected. Me and John are connected. Manmeet and Adam are connected. Now me and Adam are connected through John. On top of that, Adam's member of staff, Akeem, who's selling real estate, is actually a trained journalist, public speaker, one of them guys who presents on TV. That's his full time. That's his purpose in life. That's what he does. But he's doing property and real estate in the meantime. Anyway, it's like how if you imagine all of that, um, all revolves around a place that me, you, and your mum have stayed in already. So the place where I'm moving to, I know this but I know the place because I used to hang out there all the time 4 years ago. If that's not a win today, I don't know, man. Listen, whenever you watch this, whether it's Wednesday, whether it's Tuesday, whether it's Thursday, whether it's Friday, whether it's Super Saturday, whether it's Sunday, whether it's Magic Monday, I love you to the moon and back, sunshine. Always have, always will. Wishing you the best ever. Best ever life, man. Sunshine, go live your dreams whenever you watch or listen to this. Like I said, it's irrelevant when you do. All I know is like Uncle Jim, your daddy's going to win. And if I'm going to win, so are you. So listen, if you're watching this, you're going to win too, right? Follow the principles, follow the guidance. And if you're lost, send me a message, put a comment, put a question. I will reply. I'm just that guy, right? And I look forward to day 60 of your daddy in Dubai. Because look, man, it's been 60 days. It's been epic. I did not realize how epic it was going to be. And look, the epicness is just increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing every single day in every single way. Everything is playing out. So, sunshine, love you to the moon and back. This is your daddy in Dubai, day 59. I'm going to make it mine. Question is, are you going to make it yours? If you're watching this today, go out there, do something that pleases your soul. Do something that your younger self or your older self, whichever one, do something that your future self will be thanking you that you've done, right? Be grateful to yourself for doing it. Don't be scared to pat yourself on the back because so often in times we don't pat ourselves on the back for how far we've come. So if you made it this far, you can make it further.